Well, I'm glad that you are all here. Welcome. I really appreciate you joining me for this time to discuss Divine Mercy University's Master's in Psychology program. My name is Greg Shapiro. I'm the admissions representative for this program in particular. We're just going to go over the program details. As I'm going through this, feel free to drop your questions in here. I'll do my absolute best to answer them immediately. If I don't get to them right away, we'll certainly cover them. So to begin, I'm just going to go to the second slide. And just to make sure you can all see this first slide where it says opportunities for Master of Science in Psychology graduates. Is that right? Anyone can answer yes, just want to confirm. All right, there we go. Thank you so much. All right, well, I'm going to go to the second slide. And just to begin with Divine Mercy University, we're located in Sterling, Virginia. So we're about 35 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. And I only know that because I live in D.C. So it takes me about 35 minutes to get here on campus. And we are comprised of two different schools. So we have the School of Counseling, which involves the Master's in Counseling program. This is a hybrid program. And then we have the Institute for the Psychological Sciences. And this would involve the PsyD in clinical psychology. This one would be fully on campus. But then the one that we're going to be discussing is the Master's in Psychology program, which is fully online. And just to give you a little bit of a backstory, we began in 1999 just under Institute for the Psychological Sciences, or IPS. And then in 2014, I believe, we added the School of Counseling, and that's where we are today. So I will continue on. And this second slide, just going to move this, there we go. So the second slide, I just want to highlight the accreditation. So we are accredited through the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges. So this is one of the 6 major accrediting bodies. Just as an example, we share the same accreditation with Duke University, for instance. If you ever wanted to look into our credentials, you can go to CHEA.org. This is where students can always just confirm the accreditation of a university, and we're recognized in there. And with that, we're also approved to operate by SCHEV. That's the State Council of Higher Education in Virginia. So the PsyD program, which has been around since 2006, is APA accredited, so it does prepare for licensure as a clinical psychologist. Again, that's for the PsyD program. So that's the doctoral program that we offer. And I'm just going to continue down. And now let's get into specifically the Master's in Psychology program, which is why you're all here. So to begin, as I mentioned, this program in particular is 100% online. It doesn't require you to do any sort of traveling to our campus. There are no sort of residencies or field experience connected to it. You could be a hermit from beginning to end and still complete your degree with us. And as I mentioned as well, we are regionally accredited through SAC COC. And then this program is also 36 credit hours. So 30 of those credit hours are geared specifically toward psychology, and 6 of the credit hours are toward philosophy and theology. And then with this program, it is required that you have a baccalaureate degree, so at least a bachelor's with a 2.5 GPA to apply. And this is also what we would call a helping degree. It's for helping professionals. So whether you're already in the field, but you want to add to your credentials, then this degree is certainly useful for that. It's also great for those that are consecrated religious. So maybe they want to add to their vocation in doing that. It is a non-licensure program. So this program does not prepare you for licensure, but it does prepare you to maybe go into non-licensure fields or to add on to your credentials. And then also, I see some questions coming in. I'll make sure that I get those answered. This is also to begin with, Divine Mercy, we are rooted in the Catholic Christian teachings of the human person. So we do implement that Catholic Christian recognition into our curriculum. So it is embedded in there as well. So I see a few questions coming in. Is the accreditation accepted nationally? So we are regionally accredited, which is typically what you would find within a university. We do enroll students from across the globe. We do have students that are international. And again, this program is a non-licensure program, so it wouldn't prepare you necessarily to become licensed in your field, but sometimes I do see that other countries outside of the US might actually recognize it to go into what we would see typically within the US as a licensure, licensed position. It's always a good idea though to check with your area on what's required for that. Okay, and my colleague is also answering this. I really appreciate that. Great questions. What jobs could you get? I'm going to go over that as well. So we will certainly make sure that your question is answered in more detail. Before we get to that, I also just want to highlight the 3 tracks. So there are 3 different approaches to this program. And in other words, these are 3 different speeds to have your program completed. So one would be the 28-month track. Then we have the 20-month track and the 16-month track. So for the 28-month track, students are usually committing about 15 to 17, 18 hours per week toward their study time. For the 20-month track, they're usually committing about 18 to 25 hours per week. And then for the 16-month track, you're usually committing about 25 to 30 hours per week. So it's always a good idea to just look at what your schedule is and what sort of time commitment you could lend to your program. We certainly don't want people to overexert themselves, but we do have different ways of, if you do have that open time, to have your program completed at a more expedient pace. And I will continue on. So program structure and clinical experience. So these are just a few of the skills that one could gain from this program. And this will also sort of lend an idea of the just the diversity of how you can implement this degree. So one is to de-escalate difficult situations, build crisis plans, counsel parishioners or clients, create proper safety measures, effectively manage teams, learn how to budget. So as you're seeing, these are different things that could be applied into all sorts of environments. So whether it's within market research analytics or within family social services or case management or within ministry, these are sort of tools that employers tend to look for. Okay, and now to go into what jobs you can get with this degree. I'm glad that you asked that. That's a huge part of this. So these are the vocational opportunities, and it's a lot of information, but I'll just do some quick highlights here, and you're welcome to take some time to review it. But one, of course, is for parishes and dioceses. So a lot of people that go into this program are consecrated religious, they're pastors, they work within some form of ministry. And along with that, it could also be used within an educational environment. So community colleges, being an instructor at a community college for psychology, or as an educator within a high school environment, or continuing to work within higher education as an academic recruiter or advisor, that sort of thing. So that's where a few of these options can go into. Going a little bit further, this degree is also useful within local, state, or federal government positions. So sometimes within rehab, vocational rehabilitation, drug and alcohol specialist, employment counselor, human resource analyst, parole officer, psychology program manager, social service manager. A lot of the time within these positions, they do look for those with critical thinking skills, and that's why this degree is so useful there. And going forward a little bit more, within child and family service organizations. So that could be daycare agencies, after school programs, that sort of thing. It could be within family service worker, child protection worker, child care supervisor. It can also work within nonprofits, of course. So data analyst or manager, organizational consultant, intervention advocate. Again, this is just one of a few more options of how students have used their degree. Okay, and going a little bit more. Also within healthcare and mental health services, a lot of people look into this degree because they do want to work within, maybe within private practices or mental health involvement or behavioral counseling, which might involve some sort of certification or training afterwards. And for those that want to work with that population that earn this degree, they're not necessarily looking to further it with licensure, but they still want to work with these populations and maybe work under the supervision of a PsyD, like a clinical psychologist or a licensed professional counselor. And that's something that this degree can also lend to. And lastly, this is also used almost as, looking at it from the standpoint of industrial and organizational psychology. So within a business or corporate environment, human resource managers, sometimes they look for those with this degree to fill these positions, or advertising agents, or market research, employee training, that sort of thing. A lot of managerial positions also value a degree within psychology, a graduate degree in this field. So before I go on, is there anything else I can answer about the positions one can take, or anything beyond that that we haven't yet covered? Okay, and I'm just going to keep going. And feel free to drop your questions as we're moving along. So in this field, student testimonials. So there's a lot to go into, so I won't read all the text. I don't want to bore you with that, but it's still nonetheless very important that we do have these available. But not only that, we also have an alumni representative, and that's actually more of why I keep this in here for you to see, because if any of you, I'm always happy to go over this in a little bit more detail with you outside of this webinar. But if you're also curious about what the position looks like from the perspective of a student, we do have an ability to get you connected with those that are either actively in the program or have been in the program, have earned their degree with us. So if that's something that you're interested in, let me know. I'd be happy to get you connected. Okay, I'm just checking on these questions. Is there a way the school helps to use, help us to apply to jobs? That's a great question. So I know that we have an extensive student support service team. I don't know if that sort of career assistance is in there, but I'm going to find out for you. That way I can get that information. And then also, okay, how many students accomplish this degree every year? That's another good question. So I don't know what that number is per year, but what I can say is that it is a cohort-based program. So usually each cohort consists of about 12 to 15 students with every professor. But I'll also see if I can find that number out for you as well. Okay. Very good. I'm just going to keep moving down. So how to advance in your career, because I know that a lot of people are looking at this degree, again, as a way to advance in what they're currently doing. And so I wanted to make sure I covered this with you as well. This degree is, I've said this before, that it's a helping degree. So for a lot of people, even before their degree has officially been earned and they haven't yet completed it, they're still utilizing a lot of the tools that are gained within the program. So whether it's implementing your capstone, which I'll go over that with you, and this is part of the program, but implementing parts to what you've written about in your capstone, develop a proposal to get a raise or promotion. This is something that even goes along with what's found within our curriculum, along with even search major career engines to seek a new position. This almost goes in partnership with the market research analytics. It does help you to pinpoint a little bit more of the positions that you're seeking. So this is why so many people do find this degree useful if they're trying to advance in what they're currently doing professionally. Okay, and sample capstone titles. So again, the capstone is part of the program. This is the extensive written project that every student does toward the end of their program. And as a student, you'll have the flexibility to choose the subject that you want to write about. What you'll be doing is taking what you've learned in your program, in your courses that you've taken, and implementing it into your subject. So these are a few examples: how to prevent burnout in a lifetime of missionary work. We can retreat on human formation through the introduction of positive psychology and virtues. Here's a few other options as well, a few other things that people have written about. And at the end of the program, in fact, at the commencement ceremony, in the program, when we list your name, we also list out the capstone title that you've chosen to focus on. Okay, and again, feel free to continue asking questions. I'm going to keep going. I'll certainly get to your questions as we're moving along. So is grad school affordable? There are different ways on how you can fund your education. We do have different scholarships. I'll go over those with you as well. We do have different ways of reducing your tuition. But then also there are approved veteran funding options for those that are veterans. There's federal aid. So if you wanted to use financial aid using student loans, you would just fill out a FAFSA application. We also have employer tuition reimbursement. Some places are willing to reimburse their employers as they're furthering their education. I will continue. Looks like there are a couple more questions. If someone has a bachelor's or a master's in theology philosophy, will they have to take those 6 required credits of theology philosophy? That's a good question. So we wouldn't be able to transfer those courses in just because it is a little bit more unique to Divine Mercy University's curriculum. So those would be considered non-transferable courses. And another question, does the capstone include a defense or formal presentation? That's a good question too. So this wouldn't be the same as like a thesis or dissertation. You wouldn't have to do any sort of defense. This is more of a subject that you would like to write about. For some people, they want to go into this field because there's just an example, of course, but they want to work closer with the homeless population. So they might focus their capstone on how they can better communicate with the homeless, maybe something in a more innovative way that hasn't been presented yet within the field. But you wouldn't have to do any sort of defending of this presentation. Good question, though. I'm glad that you asked. Okay, so in this section, different types of scholarships. So we do have many different options on how we can reduce your tuition or apply for scholarships. As a student, you are able to apply up to 3 scholarships. And it's always a good idea to see what scholarships we have available. But these are a few of the options that we have. We have the Newman Scholarship, which can award up to $5,000. Faith and Hope Scholarship, which can be between 2,000 and 50%. 50% is our most, I'd say that's our highest level of scholarship options. So it is more competitive, I'd say. But again, we do have a lot of different opportunities for you to get your tuition reduced. We also have something called a memorandum of understanding, where there are 3 different tiers on how we can reduce your tuition if you are a consecrated religious, if you work for the diocese or a Catholic school or within ministry. That's another way of how we can do it. Or even if you're just a parishioner at your church, even that could be a way to have your tuition reduced. So it all depends on where you are with that, but we can certainly go over that one-on-one when we have a chance to do that. And for study options, so we went over the 3 different tracks. If you remember, the 16-month track, the 20-month track, and the 28-month track. And these are actually 3 different tuitions that are connected to them, because every second term that you take with 2 courses is reduced by 50%. Now, of course, if you have a pretty busy schedule, even though that the 16-month track, the tuition is reduced, we certainly don't want you to tack on more than is realistic for you. However, if you do have that time, this might be very beneficial for you as well. But for the 16-month track, which again, that means that you're committing about 25 to 30 hours per week, this one would be 25,530. And again, this is all before any sort of scholarships. And then the 20-month track is 26,109. And then for the 28-month track is 28,428. Okay, it looks like there's another question. Okay, great. And thank you for my colleague Ebony for addressing that. Good. Okay, and is grad school affordable? Again, we do have different scholarships. There are grants available that we have that are internal that we do award. There are also alternative funding options. So whether it's private funding, doing a cash plan, or agency organizations that do a matching funds, which may be possible for you. And then of course, we also have National Health Service Corps, and these are for those that might be able to utilize that. So that's, if you see on that last one, $50,000 towards student loan debt after working 3 months of a 2-year agreement in the area designated by the federal as low income or undeserved. And that's something that you would have to research to see if you do qualify for that. But that is some options that people will use. So this takes us to the end of the line, but this is my contact information. So take a moment to write down my email address. That's the one where you see admissions.msp@divinemercy.edu. This is my telephone number as well, 703-705-9118. Feel free to call me. You're also welcome to text me if you have any questions. I see some questions coming in. I'll go over that with you as well. And then also the promo code. I do want to highlight this because typically there's a $55 application fee, but we can waive that. We do have this promo code available for a limited time. So it is going to be available up until, let me check the date. So I think it is not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. So as long as you apply before a week from this upcoming Sunday, then you'll be able to use this code to waive that application fee. So along with that, I am now happy to take any questions. I see there's one that came in. Can you explain the Newman Scholarship? It has 2,000 off or 50% off. Yeah, so this is, you know, as a student, you would also be connecting with our financial aid department. So they'll go over with you this option in a little bit more detail. Let me go up to that because it does go over it a little bit more. Or you know what, it doesn't explain it in great detail, but there is a link for this. I'm gonna make sure that, that I get this sent over to you since I have your contact here. Good, okay. So I'll make sure that that's offered to you. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit limited on this one as well, since I believe this one might be a little bit newer. I think it would be considered more of a competitive one, but this is something that some students will apply for. Let's see. Looks like there might be another question. February 21st. Okay. Yep. And that's just to give you a little bit more of a heads up. The deadline officially for that promo code that I mentioned is February 21st to get that application fee waived. And with that, is there anything else I can answer? Yes, and my colleague also wanted to remind that the deadline for there's a scholarship that we offer for 2000, which is March 1st. So if you apply before March 1st, you would be eligible for that scholarship automatically. Right. Okay. And just to give you a chance if anyone has any other questions. Okay. Is there a reading list of what program graduates will have, or, I'm sorry, what program graduates will have read after the degree? Um, can you expand on that question? I just want to make sure I understand what you're asking. Oh, gotcha. Yes, so we do have that list. So I'll make sure that we can also get that forwarded to you along with the that question on the Newman Scholarship. Yep, absolutely. All right, and is there anything else I can answer for you folks? Okay. All right. Well, I think that is it for now. But again, take down my contact information. I know that right now questions they might not be arising this second, but they will later. So you're always welcome to email me. You're welcome to call me. Again, you're even welcome to text me. I do communicate that way as well. And again, my name is Greg Shapiro. So feel free to reach out to me again with any questions that you have. So thank you all so much for attending this. And again, I'll stand by if you guys have any questions. This is my contact information here. So thank you all. Have a great day and God bless.